Is that what we've become? Is such a cold country? Such a callous country? That we just blindly say that in the false name of equality or equity or whatever the word of choice is of the day, that we must draft our daughters? Let me be clear. Over my dead body will you draft my daughter. I mean that, literally. Over my dead body will you draft my daughter. And yet that is precisely what happened today, with no debate, no amendment allowed, and my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, I'm particularly ashamed of my colleagues on this side of the aisle, for whispering in closed doors about, well, I would have voted against that if we'd had it on the floor. I tried to oppose it in committee. But, it's the NDAA, and so, we've just got to support the NDAA. We've got pay raises for troops, and never mind all the other garbage that's in the bill. We got to support it. 60 straight years, we got to support it. You want to know why the Department of Defense is a complete mess? You want to know why the brass is completely inept and unable to actually run a war? Unable to actually exit a country when a president gives a ridiculous order to exit on September 11th for optics? You want to know why that Department of Defense is completely inept? Because we've been authorizing it and funding it for decades. And my colleagues on this side of the aisle are just as guilty, if not more. And now, my colleagues on this side of the aisle say, sure, draft my daughters. And when I say, as I have said to them, that a vote for this NDAA today was a vote to conscript your daughters, let me tell each and every one of you across this country, that is precisely what it was. And do not let any member of this body get away with hiding or running from the simple fact that today this body voted to conscript our daughters. Imagine that one day when you're sitting in your house and the lottery number comes up for your wife and not for you. What are you going to do? Or for your daughter and not you? What are you going to do? The President of the United States has, in multiple regards, engaged in what I believe to be impeachable conduct. The President of the United States has failed to faithfully execute the laws of the United States, left our borders wide open, endangered our people, endangered the people of my state. The President of the United States has failed to carry out his duty to defend the United States abroad, has in fact aided and abetted the enemy by leaving billions of dollars of equipment for our enemies to use against us, leaving Americans behind, leaving allies behind. And the President of the United States has abused the power of his office to step over the bounds of the Constitution, to order people to force their employees to get vaccinated when he has no such authority. He has no such authority. And he knows it. He knows it. For the exact same reason that the President of the United States admitted that he didn't have the power to extend the eviction moratorium. He flat out admitted it and said he was only going to do it until such time as the courts could hear the case and make a decision. That same president knows full well that his orders are unconstitutional, but he does not care. And that is an abuse of power. That same president knows that the borders are being exploited and wide open and that cartels are endangering the American people and the migrants who seek to come here, but he does not care. And that is faithless execution of the laws. the President of the United States knows full well, heck, my 12-year-old son knows full well, as he said as we were driving around, Dad, well, why would you leave the equipment there for the bad guys to get? Well, son, maybe you should be an advisor to the President of the United States because he doesn't seem to understand that concept. And neither does the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and neither does the Secretary of Defense, because they're so focused on chief diversity officers and woke policies and critical race theory that they don't give a rat's rear end about defending the United States of America. For the same reason my Democrat colleagues have gone down to the river and gone down to South Texas playing the race card and chanting racism and comparing Border Patrol agents to slaveholders. And where's the Secretary of Homeland Security defending the people that work for him in Border Patrol while they're outmanned, exhausted, resigning because they're not being given what they need and support from the top leaders of the Homeland Security? Secretary Mayorkas has the experience to know full well that abandoning Title 42 and abandoning MPP and the Migrant Protection Protocols, he knows full well that that endangers the people of this country, and he does not care. He's leaving the people of South Texas exposed. He's leaving the ranchers who work there endangered, with fences cut down, and ranchers having to figure out how to protect their families, and ranchers sending their children out across the ranches armed to defend themselves. Ranchers finding dead bodies on ranches, the dead bodies of migrants. Hundreds of them. That is faithless execution of the laws. That is why the Secretary of Homeland Security is acting with impeachable conduct. The American people are getting sick of this. The people of Texas are getting sick of this. And my admonition to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle is be very careful of walking this perilous journey of authoritarian actions by a president and authoritarian actions by an administration and authoritarian legislating by a Congress that is ignoring our constitutional framework, ignoring federalism, ignoring separation of powers, ignoring their duties under the Constitution, and endangering the people I represent on a daily basis, because that will not turn out well. The people of Texas are not going to simply sit back and take it. The governor of Texas has been deploying Department of Public Safety personnel to Del Rio. We have more DPS people in Del Rio than Border Patrol. We have more assets, more aerial activity. And but for the actions of the governor of the state of Texas moving DPS down to Del Rio, the crisis would have truly exploded. But that's only a step. The governor of the state of Texas and the $3 billion that the Texas legislature appropriated and that are deploying, and the DPS is down there working and arresting bad actors and arresting people for trespass. The state of Texas is going to have to go further because the federal government is refusing to do its job. And at some point, the state of Texas is going to force a constitutional showdown because it will be incumbent upon the people of Texas to do so. It will be incumbent upon the people of Texas to tell the rest of the country to get out of our daggum way so that we can defend the people of our state. That's where we are. And while my colleagues decry the fact that Texans believe that we should protect life once it has a heartbeat, while my colleagues decry the fact that we believe we should protect life, while my colleagues allow migrants to die, Texans want to simply keep their communities safe. and Texans are going to do so. The People's House is supposed to mean something, Madam Speaker. The People's House is supposed to be a place where we're able to come together, agree under the Constitution on how to have a more perfect union. But union doesn't mean anything when the people of my state is being trampled, are being trampled. Union doesn't mean anything when the rights of the people I represent are not being respected, when the safety of the people that I represent is not being protected or secured, when the blessings of liberty that are supposed to be secured under the Constitution are not being secured but being trampled upon, then it will beg questions about the efficacy of union. I yield back.